This January, it all comes full circle. Houston, Texas. Birthplace of the Tinter Battles movement returns to host the ultimate showdown in window film history. H-Town Throwdown. 2 shows, 1 program, 2 days, 1 event. Tinter Battles and the Film Trainers event unite for the first time ever. The Film Trainers event features the industry's top film trainers under one roof for innovative auto tint, DPF, and flat glass hands-on training. Intro or advanced, you decide. The battles begin. The Teams Automotive World Championships, Teams Flat Glass Battles World Championships, and the return of the legendary Heat Shrink Battles. This isn't just another event. This is the relaunch. This is the future. This is Tintertainment. Tinter Battles, H-Town Throwdown, January 2026, Houston, Texas. Be there or get left behind.
There you go. That's the official kickstart of the Tinter Battles live stream podcast. That was a promo that we had just released. So for everybody who's watching, welcome to the Tinter Battles live stream. And today we have a very special treat. We have none other than a multiple-time world champion. Now, part of this episode is going to be to cover not only some of his history as a competitor, but also some of the tremendous trend-setting mainstream social media viral videos that is currently happening as we speak right now. And the person that is going to be on this episode is the face that has been seen by millions and millions around the world on the Tinter Battles platform. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the guest. He is the host of the Born to Tint podcast. He is one of the trainers for the Born to Tint Academy, and he is one of the owners for the Green Valley Window Tint out of Henderson, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the multiple-time world champion window tinter, Ricky Miller.
Hey, what's up?
And the crowd goes wild. And yeah.
What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. Just doing we had a tough day today with the schedule, tinting. So
I feel you on that one. My 2 of my guys were out, my auto manager and my lead installer. It's just natural day off, so I had to step in and actually throw a pouch on today and tint, which was nice. It's nice every once in a while to actually tint.
You did cars then automotive today?
Yeah,
same here. Same here. You typically how are you installing every single day or no?
Oh no.
You're managing more than.
Yeah, the past 2 years, it's like this last year, it's probably maybe 2,000 square feet I've installed in flat glass, if that, and then cars, maybe 30, 40 cars. Like I'm hardly installing now. It's been a drawdown the past 2 years as we're trying to scale the business, that finally taking myself out of seats and actually empowering people to be managers and let them manage the crews to where we can actually grow the business. I can focus on the business side of everything. So
who's doing training? Like, because I know you guys train in-house, right?
So that's my other main role. So where we've been trying to get to for the past, I would say about a year now. So about a year and a half ago, we actually hired a business mentor, Ryan Pineda. Probably one of the best things that we did, we were doing good, but we only know what we know. Like when it comes to tinting a window, I have all the knowledge in the world. But when it comes to actually scaling a business and knowing if we're spending our money correctly, when it comes to marketing, is our offer correct? And all those things, getting our COGS right, our labor with our material, making sure we're pricing off that. We could have, treaded water in the open ocean, hope for the best, or we can hire someone that knows business, because I've come to realize now business is business. Doesn't matter what you do for that business. For like, he flips homes, and he does have a couple other businesses that he runs, but numbers are numbers. And if the numbers don't pan out, it doesn't matter how good you think you're doing. If there's no money in the account at the end of the year, like, yes, everyone got paid, but where's the profit? So that's kind of where we started kind of dialing things in, because if you want to scale and start getting bigger and bigger, those numbers, you have to have that stuff dialed in, have processes dialed in. So we really started focusing on that. And when that happened, it pulled me completely out of installing. So, and stopped relying on myself. Like, I believe about 6 months ago, every time we go into our meeting, we meet with him once a month. Usually the first question, or not the first question, but it gets brought up, did you guys install? Because he's pretty much doesn't want me and my brother installing at all. Josh he does pretty much pure flat glass sales. He is my lead sales guy when it comes to flat glass, and he's been absolutely crushing it this past year. And then my main job is, now that I'm taking out all these different seats of, like, everything was coming back to me, like who was running, this department, who was having the final say or had to look over everything. It was me, to where I got pulled out of those, to where my main focus now is pretty much lead generation. So we have an editor and we have a content creator. He was our graphics guy and our paint protection. He was my graphics designer. He went to school for editing videos. He knows Photoshop, Premiere, or Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
So after we started going into the podcasting, he's like, dude, I can do that. And I was like, okay, which was great because he knows the nuances of our business. So he kind of knows how to look for certain clips in our podcast. So like my main focus now is just content creation with him, and then helping the inside sales, training them, and then also training any installer that we have come in. So if we have any new guys in auto, I'll watch them. They also all know doors wide open. If you have any questions on installing or you need any help and tips and tricks, come to me. And then same thing with flat glass. So my focus is purely on training our installers, and then help generate leads and making sure the leads are coming in for the sales, and then making sure our sales or inside sales, if they're getting stumped by certain questions that our customers are asking, giving them, like, trying to download the knowledge I have over the past 20 years of, like, all right, this is what I would have told this customer if they came at me with this question, and then kind of walk through scenarios with them.
Now, like, as you're scaling forward, there's a couple of questions that come to mind. One of them is, are you going about defining roles and responsibilities as the company grows?
So that was probably I think our first or second meeting with Ryan was actually doing an org chart to put out what person is sitting in every single spot of the company and whose responsibility is it for that department itself. So like I said, we first laid it out, my name was scattered across 7 to 8 different categories. And it was just I'm trying, if I help over here, then the other 4 sections over there, I'm neglecting them, and then we're losing momentum over there. So it really came down to me, letting go of, I guess you could say, best word, not say power, but let go of the fact of let my managers manage. I thought I was doing that when my dad had his stroke and then all of a sudden was completely ripped out of the business. It was I was trying to help everyone as much as I can, but I didn't realize that I was kind of stepping on toes at the same time. We took our lead installer at the time, Brendan, and I promoted him to be my auto manager because he's been with us for 18 years now. So he has the experience. And so he was jumping into the new role of managers. And I had to realize that I need to stop worrying about what the installers are doing and help my manager out and actually let him run it. And then let him have his failures too, because it's a new position for him. And then for our flat glass department this past year, we finally were able to put someone in the seat of flat glass manager. He was our lead installer for the past 3 years. And it kind of worked out perfectly for us to where I could put him into that position to where they know they can come to me with any questions, but they take their responsibilities. Like my flat glass manager, he handles scheduling for all of our sales jobs for anything that is closed or approved. If Josh doesn't close it on site, if Josh closes it on site, he knows our installers, he can book the job. But say he leaves, customer makes their mind up, they approve the job. We already have SOP set in place now. As soon as it gets approved, it comes through TintWiz, approved. And then we have another CRM that we've implemented to work with TintWiz to help our sales communication. Because now we have 2 inside sales, and now we have 2 outside sales. To where as soon as that gets approved, inside sales moves it to a certain funnel, automatic triggers happen to where he gets alerted, Armando gets alerted to schedule the customer. He reaches out, he schedules the customer. So it's just putting all the systems in place. And then after you put them in place, see how they work. And then what I've come to figure out is you think you have it perfect, but it's never perfect. It's a constant working thing. You find something that gets, something that can be more efficient, which I tell all my people that if you think there's a more efficient way of doing this, and that's in any from installer, manager, front office, if there is a more efficient way and you have an idea, absolutely come to me, because I do not claim to know everything. I only know what I know. And if you have an idea because you're doing that role every single day, I have a image in my head of how I think it should go, but I'm not getting the repetitions of the customers calling, or scheduling the customers to where if you think there's a better way to do it, come to me and let me know. And then hell yeah, let's implement it. Let's see if it works. Worst case scenario, we go back to what we were doing and we see if there's another way we can do it more efficiently.
Right. Dude, so we're getting a couple of people here joining us now. Sean G's in the chat, as well as Fernando Sainz. Fernando, I believe. Fernando, you got to correct me. Are you a world champion technically? I can't remember if he won. I know his team won at WFR, the teams.
That makes him world champion. And he's the Iron Man.
Yeah, he's definitely the Iron. He's a tough competitor, dude. Like, I almost want Fernan, and like there has to be a Fernan versus Ricky Miller at some point. You know, that type of battle. I know you're as tough of a competitor as it gets too.
Oh, I'm 100% down, and I would love to battle him in heat shrink too. I mean, I don't have necessarily the credentials, at least the competition credentials to throw out there. That's why I kind of keep my mouth shut when it comes to auto. But when I first started competing, it was back in 2012, and it was only auto. I've been hunting down an auto championship since 2012. I consider myself almost more of an auto tinter than I am flat glass tinter. But it just so happened that when I threw my hat into the ring of flat glass in 2015, it just stars aligned and things it just worked out. But it kills me that I haven't gotten to the finals of the automotive division in WFCT. So, but it is what it is. But I try to compete obviously in everything I possibly can. Like I tried going after Ironman, and I shit the bed in flat glass, which was supposed to be my strongest category. Almost took dead last. And then my single auto went really well. And, in second round dipped. And it's just, that's just how the cards fall when it comes to competition. You just got to keep going, keep repping it out. And, when everything lines up, it lines up.
Oh, shit. We got Marco Cazorla. Speaking of, technically, I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of people don't know. Marco is a technical world champion of sorts, but he holds a championship in the heat shrink battles, the first one that was ever hosted in a Tinter battles back in 2022. So he defeated Montana at that time, and he took on the championship. And Marco was more of a torch shrinker, but them early days of the heat shrink battles was kind of like UFC 1, man. The rules were very wild. It was set up like Royal Rumble style, just because like I wanted to see if a person. Well, I'll give you the concept. In 2022, when I launched the heat shrink battles for the first time, I wanted to create. This was the first time like there was that kind of elimination head-to-head type of battle, and so I wanted to create something that was like very entertaining, but something that was more sports-like when you're watching it. And so the rules were pretty much like Royal Rumble style. I mean, you were drawn by random, and if you got drawn to enter the battle, you stayed there until you got defeated or you win the entire thing. And that's Royal Rumble style. So I did it because I felt that there was going to, like, the crowd of the Tinders were going to split into two different schools of thought. And one of them was going to say that it's not fair because of the fatigue factor, while the other people would say, well, the more that you do it, the more of an advantage that you have.
Absolutely.
And so it was interesting to see the psychological differences between the two, and that's exactly how it played out. There were certain people that were like, man, it's too much, and others that were like, well, it's my third time versus their first time, so it created for a very exciting atmosphere. And the person that had the highest undefeated streak was Montana with 6-0 before Marco battled him, and Marco took him out, and Marco won.
All right, so with that though, so which train of thought are you in?
Me?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm a go-getter. Oh hell yeah, I'm a go-getter. To me, it's if I was competing and I was already two rounds in, 3 rounds in, 4 rounds in, to me it's like, well, the more repetition that I have, technically I have an advantage. That's the way that I see it.
No,
but
I agree with you on that. That's 100%. You're gonna be faster at the more, especially if it's the same. Obviously, it's the same window, but doing it over and over again, like that's where, I guess even before when I found out about the competitions in general before 2012, I was going to SEMA, and because it's in my hometown, I'm lucky enough to where it's like I've been to almost every single one since I was 16. But Johnson Window Films had their bug back window, and they used to they had the shrinking challenge. And in the inception of it, it was actually regulated pretty well to where they actually judged it pretty harshly. to where if there was anything popped on it, you were out. And then they had a time period where they were just letting everyone just go willy-nilly, just squeegee shit on. They're like, yeah, it's good, and ripping it off. But they went back to it to where it's actually gotten more competitive again. But me and I can't forget the gentleman's name, but he was down in Arizona for like 3 to 4 years straight. Me and him were going back and forth. And like the first year, I think we got it below like 5 minutes. And the next year we got it below like 4. And it was just one of those things where as long as you were there, they let you just rep it out. My very last time I did it competitively, I got it down to like 2 minutes and 38 seconds. And like we were both like cutting as much out because the rules laid out. Time doesn't start until the heat hits the window, almost like just like heat shrink battles. As soon as you go, time starts. So, but we had to peel and stick the back window. So what we got down to was literally setting the pattern, cutting the sides perfectly, like cutting them to install. And literally we're shrinking, cutting top, bottom, inside of the window was already prepped, peel, wet, throw it on, squeegee it out, and nothing can pop. If anything popped, it didn't count. Where it's like, as I was peeling, I'm wetting my window. As I'm taking the tint off the back window, I'm wetting the back side of the tint so I can ditch my bottle and just throw it on the inside and squeegee it out. And you better hope that you shrink it perfectly.
Yeah.
Otherwise it would pop on you. And I mean, to get it to 238, I think I did it like 20 times in one day. Like I spent like 2 hours there. Like no one else was doing it. They're like, you can just keep going because it drew a crowd. People saw someone doing something and it just kept drawing people to their booth. And it was like, it made sense for them. And like, that's where I got introduced to WFCT, or even it was brought to me that it was a thing and you could go compete. And then, so in 2012, I went to Louisville. At the time, the one company I got to sponsor me wasn't a sponsor of the event at all, but they paid for me to go out there, and I wore a shirt with their logo huge as shit on the back was American Standard Window Films. So
you didn't get in trouble
just for wearing a logo?
Yeah.
If they would have told me to change my shirt, I would tell them to piss off. It was my company shirt. Like I took my company shirt. Like I did,
I see.
Like, yeah, it's like what I do for all of my, you can't pitch their product. And I wasn't trying to pitch their product. I mean, I used SolarGuard's product because they were a sponsor and I still was a SolarGuard dealer at the time. So it was like, I know this film, I use their film. I mean, I walked into that competition thinking my shit didn't stink. And I was just the world's greatest gift in tinting. I think I was 25 and I got humbled real quick. But humbled in a good way to where I realized, and I also fell into a great group of people. Like I met Chris Brooks, I met all the guys to where it's like, I got to know them. And instead of taking it personal and letting my ego get in the way, I finally kind of actually stepped back and realized like, all right, there's levels to this. These are the people I want to be near. These are the people I want to like start to get to know. And then I started to get to know all those guys. And then we've been friends like since, and it's had a huge impact, I would say, on my technical and my career, and then how I am in my business now.
Overall, so you've been competing since 2012, which puts you at about 13 years competing now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, and now, like, to me, probably one of the things that's creating a ton of waves right now, it's the social media video of you installing at Flat Glass Battles, and it was posted to kind of give a little bit of a history here. So when we did Tinter Battles in 2024, that video was posted, and that was one of the more popular videos that was out there on Facebook. It had gotten like a little over 20 million views, if you remember.
It's up to like 24 now. I went and checked just because of what's been happening on Instagram. I went back and looked at that one, and I couldn't believe it was up to like 24 million. It's like,
yeah, which was bonkers. The fact that like window tinting competition media, it's getting that much attention. And so then, we're now more than a year removed since that happened. I reshared it again on Instagram, and it's currently, I haven't checked, but it was like 7.8 million last time I saw it. So I knew it was going to hit 8 at some point. But what I didn't know that there was other accounts that had reshared it, like on X. They reshared it. Last I checked, it's 3 million views over on that one over there. It passed over 1.1 million on TikTok. And dude, I don't know about you, but the comments on them, like it's so fascinating to me. The things that people notice and the things that they question, because I never thought, like, of all things, that they started to really try to figure out what's on your calf. Like, what tattoo do you have on there?
I can't tell you how many times I've answered that question now, to where it's like, I've contemplated, like, I just need to like copy what I'm saying to one person. I'm going to put it somewhere on my phone. So when it gets asked, it's copy, paste. But it's like,
Yeah.
I want to take the time out to actually reply. Cause I engaged with the one on Facebook decently well. Cause that was like right when that happened, we just picked up Ryan as our business mentor. And like, he's got a pretty big following on social media. His social media is gigantic, to where it's like, I hit him up. I was like, hey man, I feel like I should be doing something, but what? Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, dude, just engage and direct people to your page as much as you possibly can. That's all you can do. So this time around, I've really tried to stay engaged, where even if it's just as simple as giving someone, saying thank you, fire emoji, and like just throwing some emojis down. At minimum, I'm doing that. And then people that are actually asking questions like, hey, you're taking the plastic off the back. That was the other one that gets asked constantly.
Oh yeah. They think that the film is backwards and you're squeegeeing the adhesive side.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I noticed that. And I still to this day can't figure out a way to explain it in like 2 or 3 sentences where it makes sense and not causes more confusion. Like reversal it's a weird technique to explain unless you're actually showing it for me.
Yeah. Which, because the question being asked so much, I feel like I've come up with a pretty good explanation of like just telling them, like, at least telling me when I drop the roll or when I drop the film, it's a technique where the plastic is already peeled to the backside, to where it is peeling the film for me and then putting the plastic on the outside, to where the glue side is still facing the window, to where, obviously a video will explain it better, but I'm hoping that gives them the general picture, which I've gotten people reply back to that, to where like, oh, hey, thanks, I appreciate it. I think so. We had the tattoo, the peeling, the backpack. Why are you wearing the parachute, bro? It's like, okay.
Oh my God. But see, like those are the kinds of things, man, that to me I feel like are super valuable. Because I had, Bruce he's collaborated on that reel, and I messaged him. I'm like, Bruce, you're getting a lot of traffic, the kind of stuff that people pay a lot of money for, bro. Like the engagement is free, but the lack of engagement is expensive. Like, take advantage of it, and that's an interesting thing, man. Like, you more than any other person that I think has really taken advantage of the kind of boost that you've had with the videos going viral. Because I mean, I get the notifications like, dude, it's all day notifications. I don't know if you get them too, but it's all day, just comments and this and that. But I'm constantly seeing you. And then sometimes, like, I play a game, it's almost like, let me try to beat Ricky to it. And there was that one particular that comment where we both went at the same time, and the guy thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's getting a lot. And it's something that also noticed. There's a variety of mixture of comments, some people intrigued by it, others that were talking shit because they can't believe it's an actual thing. But whenever this account, did you see it on X, that dudes posting their W's? Have you seen it?
I don't have X, so when you posted that on Facebook, that's when I saw it. And then this morning, my my editor, Jordan, he sent me, because when you posted it was 1.6 million, and that was yesterday. So and then this morning he texted me, he goes, dude, you're going viral on X right now. And he took a screenshot, sent to me, and it was at 3.1. I was like, wow. Yes. Makes no sense, man. I mean, I've always, I guess, been on the shyer side of social media. Like, I kind of understood it, but not really. But even when it comes to Tinter battles, like, I didn't really understand Tinter battles for the first couple of years. And then even when it came to the Texas Squeegee, I mean, that whole thing, I was like, I didn't really understand it. And then I got to actually sit down and talk with you. And then actually going to Tinter battles last year, that's what opened my eyes. And then that clip going viral, and then realizing like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, I took like mixing, obviously, what we do, which we have a very niche trait that we do, and then mixing with the entertainment to it, putting that flair on it, getting that spark. All the shit talkers, I like every single one of them, and I respond to all of them too. And I'm responding to them with, I'm being, I guess, as sarcastic as I humanly can, but in the nicest way possible. It's like, I saw a guy yesterday, he posted, I've been doing this 30 years. I would smoke this dude. And like, he kind of went on and on. I was like, dude, respect to the OGs, man. And it was like, yeah, I've been doing this myself for 20 years. Would love to compete against you. I love competing against the best in the industry. These are the next 2 events coming up, but I've also been lucky enough, and then I kind of slid in there. I've been lucky enough to win this one 4 times, and I'm the reigning and defending champion. Hope to see you there. where it's like, kill them with kindness, put some sarcasm in there just for fun, because I want to spark a reaction, but I'm not trying to, I don't want to just sit there and just talk shit to somebody, because that just shines negative light. It just looks like, you know, it makes us look bad. And I want to grow the industry. I don't want to shrink it, you know? So it's try to improve as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, like you know, a lot of times when I see some more it's a different level now, but you know, whenever I first started with Tinter battles, dude, a lot of the hate came from the Tinters themselves. People that I run into all the time. But as it's grown popularity, I've always held from the very beginning that the haters of today are the potential fans of tomorrow. So don't say something that they'll remember. And then because if if somebody hates on it, they probably don't understand it. But the moment that you also talk shit back, then at that point they're definitely never going to be a fan at that of it. So from the very beginning, like I've been used to it, but as the platform has gotten more popular, you start to have more of like, okay, it's not necessarily like there are people that used to talk bad about it that I know that I'm like, dude, I know you. It's like what are you doing? But now it's more of people that didn't even know that like window tinting, that there was a whole subculture to all of this, and it's a different, they're more of the, sometimes they're a little bit more harsher because it's sometimes when people don't know, when they're hiding behind a keyboard and it's not their name, sometimes they say some pretty bad things. But I've always the same thing is always try to roll with the punches. And you're in jiu-jitsu, so you try to use a momentum to sort of like deflect and be artful with it. But on like that dudes with posting their W's, like I'm gonna put it on here on the screen because so this is a post right here. I'm not sure if it's showing. Okay, perfect. So this is a post right here. It's currently at 3.1 million views. This account, I think it's had 2.4 million followers. There you go, 2.4 million followers there. But what was interesting about this one is that this is dudes posting their W's. And, I don't know if you know about Twitter, but Twitter is savage, man. It's probably one of the most savage social media platforms. Like you get torn apart so bad. And so I didn't want to go through the comments until somebody told me like, hey, these comments are actually pretty good. But yeah, like, let me see. There was a couple things here. Oh, humans turn literally anything into a competition. That was like a very common comment we saw throughout. It needs commentators, so that I need to address. Yeah, we do have commentators, but it wasn't mic'd up at the time. Did you notice how many of these? How can I bet on that?
Oh my God, I have tagged DraftKings and Prize Picks so much, and the fact like, come on, DraftKings, what are we waiting for? Yeah. Just like let's go. It's like anytime something like that gets mentioned, I'm trying to tag any other bigger account I possibly can. That's hilarious.
Yeah, dude, I saw this one. And I thought, like, this is so funny. Like, I'm like, I was laughing. You can see my reacts right here because I actually had to make an X account. And I'm like, dude, if we're going viral on X, I gotta go make an account over there. But this one right here, he wears the backpack in case they have a random PED test and he needs to clean pee. Like, what the fuck's going on?
That is awesome. Oh my God,
there is such thing as Tinter battles. Like, perfect example. If you're gonna do it, might as well be the best. Love to see it. Like, dude, I was quite surprised how many positive comments from this account that I saw. When is a paint drying observational contest? Obviously a hater right there. He's just barking up. He's barking at the moon. But,
there was one comment. I don't remember exactly what it was, but Jordan replied to it from our business page, and the guy replied back, and he was like, this is the first, like he admitted that he was just trying to troll. And then he was like, this is the best response I've ever had to me trolling. I'm now going to pretty much along the lines, I'm going to follow your content now. Like this this is great. And like everyone that talked about, I can't believe they turned like this, you'll turn anything into a competition. And like all those people like that, my main reply to them is, hey, the competition is the fun part of these events. What you don't see is the networking that is with our fellow industry installers and everybody. The networking is where the real worth is in these competitions. And then also, how can you improve yourself in whatever trait you are, unless you are trying to go against the best? Now, yes, we don't get everybody because a lot of people can't make these events, and yet we try to get the word out as much as possible to try to get as many people there as possible. But I would like to say that a good majority of the people that are there are the top guys in our industry. I have learned so many techniques and tips from going to compete at these things. And that's what, after 2012, skipped 13, but I was back 14, 15. There was one more year I skipped in there too. But after like my second or third competition, that's when I started realizing like I need to be paying attention to the people installing and seeing what they're doing. I've picked up so many techniques from people that have furthered me as an installer, and then I can come back to my shop and then pass it along. I mean, the biggest one was in 2021. I was doing paint protection because I usually always compete in all three categories.
Yeah.
So in paint protection, Nick at Fusion Tools, do you use hot water? And I was like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. And he goes, to clear out your edges, you got to clear the glue or clear the soap out of the edge if you're going to wrap your edge. Because I always struggled to wrap edges. I never wrapped any of my edges because I wasn't there yet as an installer. I just didn't understand it. Went up to my room, filled a bottle with hot water as hard as I could get it, insulated it with a microfiber, taped it up, and then went and did my fender, and we had to wrap the edges. I made the finals in paint protection, which blew my mind because like my flat glass window I thought was like on point. I was like, oh dude, I'm pretty sure I'm in the finals in that. Didn't make the finals in flat, but made the finals in paint protection, which for me is my weakest category. And like, I was like mind blown. I was like, the things I learned at this competition is unbelievable. I mean, there's so many different things I've picked up from installing at these competitions that have furthered me as an installer.
Yeah, that's they're very important to go through, man. And I've seen that comment brought up a lot too, like the people that I can't believe this is a thing. But there's some that bring it up from the perspective that they're fascinated by it, and there's others that are saying it more to hate on it. And similar to you, like a lot of the responses that I'll make from the account, or sometimes even my personal account, is like at some point you're going to master the craft, and the only way to get better is to compete against other masters of the same craft. So, you know, it's like at some point, once you like the challenge is the actual skill itself, but then once you conquer it and master it, then the only way to really truly get better at it is to compete with others who have also done the same thing. And you know, that was one of the inspirations for, like, for example, in a lot of the Tinter Battles competitions is that the rules, I simplify and minimize a lot of the rules because I want to respect the amount of versatility that this industry has when it comes to doing tinting. It's like math. There's way more. There's a lot of ways to get to 4. You know, you can add 2 + 2, 3 + 1, that type of stuff. And window tinting is the same thing. It's like you're never going to find one. It's kind of I also equate like tinting, the style of tinting. It's like a fingerprint. You don't find the exact same in 2 people. There's always a slight variation, whether it's tools, whether it's a technique, it's a style. So one of the things with that I find it like super fascinating with the format of how we do Tinter Battles is like on the automotive section, for example, like whether you want a 2-stage or bottom load, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, to me, it's get the film on the glass. That's what's getting judged. Like the result is what gets judged, not the process. And so, what that type of stuff also does, it allows people to, it allows the competitors to compete in their most comfortable form, because if you're going to truly compete against the best, then you need that person competing at their best form. And if they're a bottom loader but the competition doesn't allow for that, then you didn't really get their best version out of it. So for that reason, that's why I like keeping the rules that way, but also for the people that are watching too. Not only that are watching live, but we capture the content and then we share it online. The people that are watching, those are the ones who are really getting a ton of value from watching some of the best, and why they do it a little bit different. And one of the things that memories that come to my mind was 2023 at Amelia Island with the guy who won heat shrink battles at that time, Luis. He was stretching the bottom corners of a Toyota Camry to get rid of fingers, and like almost like as if it's vinyl, and like, you know, film doesn't stretch. So I'm like, what the hell are you like? How is he doing it? But he ended up doing that, you know, and it was crazy. I don't know if you've seen that video before, but it's nuts.
The first time I saw it was last week when you did your live, when you dropped the release dates. I was watching the live and you played that video. That's one of those things, again, without me actually tuning in and trying, like, staying engaged, I would have never saw that video. I mean, I might have saw it eventually, but
I gotta post it.
Watching him do that, I was like, that makes so much sense, because when you're trying to squeegee a door, if you're not shrinking a door and it is like, say, a flat door, like it's a truck, you don't have to say, if you're not in the mindset of throwing a little snap shrink on there just so you don't have to worry about it. When I first started learning how to tint, when I was like 11, 12 years old, and my dad was teaching me how to do auto and squeegee, like squeegeeing was everything. Like how you squeegeed was everything. And we shrank everything on the car. We didn't have the concept of snap shrinking, at least for us in Vegas, not say Vegas, for us at our shop, like didn't exist. I never saw it at that point. So like my dad hammered into my head is the squeegee pattern. That is the biggest thing, is where you tack and where you're pulling the tension of your film is going to pull the fighters out of your window. So when you showed that video, I was like, why haven't I been doing that? Like that makes all the sense in the world to get it nice and taut, pull the tension into the corner like you need it to be.
Yeah.
It's going to flatten it out. And even when it comes to a shrinking battle, like that makes all the sense in the world, to where it's like your setup is everything. How you set that window is going to determine that extra couple of seconds that probably will get you to the next round or get you the belt when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
So it was like, that was another one of those moments where it's like, dude, I've been doing this for 20 years. And I keep, every time I'm either at an event or engaging in content of someone, where they're shrinking or doing something a little different, I'm like, never thought of it like that. That makes sense. I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah, man, that was pretty shocking whenever that happened, because I've been doing it for, I started when I was 12 years old myself, so I'm probably a good 20 years into it now, 2021. Even though a lot at these events, I don't really do a lot of competing nowadays. My role is a little different, but it's still, I'm a student of the craft. I love the craft. I would say, I'll say it for myself, I think I'm pretty damn good. I'm good enough that I started at a flea market and here I am. But anyways, nonetheless, I love being surprised, because still to this day, there's things that evolve, like either a new tool will come out and that tool will create a certain technique or strategy that didn't exist before. So, and dude, I as a tinter myself, I can confirm that the one thing that a lot of tinters have is they have some kind of creativity for problem solving, because tinting is one of those weird crafts where you can do the exact same process every time and you always get a slightly different result. So that
was the biggest thing for me, growing as an installer. When I finally came to that point in my career of realizing that, to accept that there's like, you can do the same thing over and over again, you're never going to get the same result. And then to implement small little tips and tricks. Like I got very lucky growing up in a tint shop. My dad taught me how to be clean. He was slow as a goddamn snail, but he was one of the cleanest installers, and still in my mind, still one of the cleanest installers. If I could take him when he was an installer and drop him into a competition, not put a time limit on it, most likely he's podiuming or he's probably winning. He was one of the cleanest installers. But I picked my speed up through all the different tinters that we had come through our shop. Like we had one guy that was with us for 14 years. His name was Rod, or his nickname was Hot Rod. Still to this day, he's one of the fastest hand cutting tinters that I know. Like he could knock a car out hand cutting like in 30 minutes, and like get it done, and it drive out and get it done. I picked up bottom loading from him. He would do it with metal spatulas, and like he still does it to this day. To where he does the same thing. All he's doing is prying back the felt, but he's not putting bungees or anything. He just uses like a little 5-inch or 6-inch, and he's gotten so good at his technique that he's not hitting his film. He's not hitting anything in the car, damaging the vehicle, and he just knows how to throw his window in quickly. That's where I learned bottom loading from him. And then the first time I saw someone bottom load like me with like a angle card with a easy reach was Chris Brooks in 2012. I saw him do that. And I was like, okay, that's the first time I've seen this. And then all of a sudden, keep going to these competitions, you see that so many people have so many different techniques of doing things that you can bite onto that technique and implement it into what you do and improve yourself, because there's always improvement. I mean, circling back to jiu-jitsu, you become a black belt. That doesn't mean anything. That means you're low man on the totem pole when it comes to black belts. You can go up against a black belt that's 10 years into the game, and he's going to destroy you and wreck you. But you have a black belt. And it's like, that doesn't matter. You should always be growing and learning. Yeah, man. So speaking of which, Houston, you ever been to Houston before? Yes. I flew into there. My first 100-mile marathon was just north of Houston. It was in, how is this? Huntsville. Oh, yep. That's on the outskirts up there. Yep. So that's the extent of how long I've been in Houston. I flew in, I hopped in a rental car, I drove north, and then I decided to run 100 miles consecutively for some reason. Damn. Wait, so was it around back to Huntsville? It was in Huntsville. It was in one of the national parks. It was a 20-mile loop. I had to do it 5 times. Okay. It's probably Sam Houston State Park or something. think so.
That's the only park that I know that's up there. I know there's probably more, but it's a beautiful forest, man. It's a great forest out there. But Houston, Texas, man, like we got so the competition lineups for the next Tinter battles, we're definitely bringing back heat shrink battles, and I'm working on expanding the competition because originally I had the program set for 16 competitors competing. Now, how many can try out is really it's a little bit unlimited. But as far as we get down to the competitors, it was going to be starting off with 16. But I think if we get enough people that want to do this, I may have to change up a few things in order to accommodate. And then, however, anyways, heat shrink battles is one of the competitions. Flat glass battles is the other one. And flat glass is a teams division. So similar to how we did last year. But this year, we won't be having hanging windows because that was only good for the surprise. This year, we're going to make it a little bit more... how do I say this? Like, I mean, it's a legitimate competition, but it's a little different. And I do have, even though, so last year we had the hanging windows, and that was kind of the plot twist. There's a plot twist coming up for this one as well. So I do have something in mind. It's going to be historic, but I'm not going to release what it is until you guys show up.
But you're going to have everybody and their mother though, as soon as you were like, because when you released the packet last time, it said it. You just had to read between the lines and be creative. So now everyone's going to read what you send out and be throwing stuff up against the wall and hoping for like, oh, we're going to probably be doing this. So I like that aspect. Like especially when you get into the finals of any competition, it's nice to get a surprise right at the end and kind of get, like it throws you off a little bit, I mean, that happened last year in the finals at WFCT, where it's like, in the meeting, you were told we were going to operate business as usual. You do one window to get into the finals. In the finals, you do the window up top. Go down to pick my film up, and they're like, all right, so here's your film. I go over to the coordinator, and he's like, all right, so you're going to do the top window and side A of the bottom. And I was like, excuse me? He said, yeah, you're doing 2 windows. So I'm like, are we getting more time? He's like, no, same 25 minutes, but now you got to do 2 windows. And I was like, awesome. That's cool. Because like I was mentally prepared for that one window. Like thankfully, because I have been able to compete so much and I've been in the finals, like I know the measurements of both those windows perfectly. So I get my patterns on point before I get in there, because that's the gray area. They tell you can get your pattern ready. So I do everything I possibly can before the time starts to put myself in a position to win. And when all of a sudden they're like, you're doing 2 windows, it's like, all right, now you have to move. Like I can't just focus on making sure that, because 25 minutes on that one little window is an eternity. Where you give me 25 minutes, I'm going to make that thing damn near perfect. Yeah. But now I got to do 2 windows in 25 minutes, which I already barely struggled to finish the 3x5 in 15 minutes. So now I got to hammer through the hard one and then knock out the easier one and hope everything just goes flawlessly. One little hiccup, you're done. And there's nothing you can do about it. So, but I enjoyed that being thrown at me at the last minute. Same thing at Tinter battles last year. It's all of a sudden like you guys are setting up chains and hanging windows. I'm like, oh shit, dual pane hanging windows. Okay, that makes all the sense in the world.
It just creates different kinds of challenges, man. Like I've been of the belief that if you want to, for the competitors, if you want to take the claim of being the best in the world, it's like, well, you had to really be put through the ringer to take that claim. And so I felt this was one that you really couldn't prepare for. And to me, as a fan of I call it the sport, as a fan of the sport of window tinting competitions, I got to see people that could never have expected this and how they react to it on the spot. And probably the person that really impressed me the most, and wasn't a surprise, it was Chuck Cochran. Because Chuck is incredibly clever. And I got to see that, it's one of those things that whenever you see a line and you're like, hey, that's a king of the jungle. But if you could somehow peek into the career, how that line got to the king of the jungle, like that to me, I feel like would be extremely fascinating. And so with like someone like Chuck Cochran, I know that he's like a world-class level installer, but I felt like this was as if you were watching the line on a hunt. When I saw him do like tilting the windows and doing the stuff that he was doing, I was like, man, this is crazy. But coming into this coming year, so I'm assuming you're probably going to end up wanting to get in there into the flat glass battles and give it another shot.
Oh, absolutely. Like I'm definitely on the track of, I want to win another competition besides WFCT, because right now I could be labeled that, well, yeah, you win that one, but you tank in the other ones, which I was able to make the finals last year in Tinter battles, where, like you were saying with Chuck, like when it comes to someone that has that much tenure in tinning, Tinters are definitely problem solvers. Like you got to get the job done. It doesn't matter what job you get to, if it's a big project, small project. When you get there, especially if you're the owner operator, like if a window's got to get tinted, like we got to get this window done. We got to figure out the way to get this done. Like what bit me in the ass last year at Tinter battles was we got time to clean the glue off the windows, which we got that little extra time. So in my mind, I was like, all right, I got to hang 4 panels, which me and Josh talked about. Josh wanted me to hang all the tint. He was going to hold and touch up. And like, he's like, dude, you're faster. You just tint and then we'll touch up together. And that's how we'll do it. I was like, okay, well, that's what we'll do. So when I got all the windows prepped and ready on the one side, I already had them. I squeegeed them. I wiped my edges. If right then I had to hang film, I could have hung film. But we had to do you introduced everybody. So it was like a good, 5-6 minutes of you doing introductories. That window was just sitting there. My dumb ass didn't put 2 and 2 together, where I was just like, all right, I've already squeezed you. We're just going to peel and stick and go. So I can save as much time as possible. Save as much time as possible. Dude, I got destroyed on that first side. Like if you looked at all the circles I had on one side, that was the first side I tinted. And then the second side, non-existent, because I actually squeegeed my window right before I installed, and there was no little specks or anything that had settled onto the window. So me trying to cut time ended up screwing us in the finals. But, you live and you learn. Definitely will not be doing that again. That's for a certainty. I thought I was going to have trying to take advantage again of that gray area. It's like, well, we got to get the glue off. Look, I might as well squeegee this real quick and wipe my edges. And it ended up biting me in the ass because that first side was just circles all over the place. Marco destroyed my windows.
Marco is a brutal judge, dude. There is no getting through him.
No, and
he's made a lot of enemies in the battleground, but then they can become friends afterwards. But it's heat of competition.
Everyone's got to stop hating on judges in any of the competitions. If any of these people think that like they're just taking time out of the day just for fun to screw with you, get out of here. Like, stop. Like, anyone who's judging at any one of these competitions is taking that time to sit there and judge your window to the best of their ability to try to pin who is the best person. Like, if you think that someone's literally going in there, like, oh, they're going to be brand loyal, like they carry this film, they're gonna judge windows this way. Like, that's one of the things at WFCT that I disagree. Like the whole hiding the box thing. Any tinner that's worth his salt, or anyone who's from a manufacturer who's been in the industry for 20 years, when you walk up to that tint and you're looking at it, I bet you 9 times out of 10, they can tell you whose product they're looking at, because we've all seen every manufacturer's product. So it makes zero sense. Even at WFCT, the judge for the majority of the time that I've been competing, he just didn't make it out last year, is Brian from EcoTint. He's across the valley from me. He's technically what some people say is a competitor. So do you think it brings him pleasure to crown us the world's best architectural tinners? Like, if anything, if there was bias in the competition, he would make sure that we didn't win. But he is a good dude, an honest dude, and he just wants to crown whoever is the best installer, whoever is putting the best product out there. He doesn't care where the hell they're from, what product they're using, and that goes for almost every single judge. So any competitor that gives judges shit for judging a certain way, it's like, get the hell out of here. Every single mark that Marco put on my windows was justifiably circled. I was looking at it like, yep, yeah, this looks like shit. Absolutely does. I mean, that's one thing that bugs me the most about some of the competitors that take things so personally. It's like, hey, dude, the cards didn't fall your way this time. Regroup, get ready for next year. Actually actually put some practice in. When you're installing, you put in practice in. But if you feel like you need to put yourself under that pressure of the time restraint, like a couple weeks prior, actually put a clock aside, time yourself, try to put some pressure on yourself to try to figure out, get those kinks out of the way before you go compete.
Dude, that's how I had prepared my one of my installers, Pete. He went to go compete at the Expo Dealer Conference. And so I don't know if you knew this, but I was a musician. I was a competitive musician back when I was in high school and college. And so a lot of how I practiced at that time, even though I didn't know it when I was doing it, but looking back now, it's a lot of how athletes practice even for their performances whenever they're going to go play. But it's you're breaking down the technique to the smallest steps, and everything is calculated. And then you repeat the process over and over. So it becomes second nature, so that when you're in that space and the nerves kick in, you default to your form of best preparation, and how you prepare it is how you're going to perform. Another common quote that I always used to say: how you practice is how you perform. So how you practice here today is how you're going to perform up on stage, or how you're going to perform in competition. So, you know, I did some trainings with him, and it worked. I mean, he ended up getting second place overall. He was the underdog in the finals. Everybody else had already won previous XDCs. He was the only one who was the least experienced, and he got docked because he left his tools on the table. Which, by the way, I'm just going to say it. I hate when tinners get knocked, when their score gets affected by something outside of the install. Personally, I hate that. And that's why at tinter battles, we don't count off for things like that. Because to me, it has to be about the quality of the install. Now, obviously, don't leave a mess. That's a common thing. You know, don't leave a mess and stuff. But anyways, he got docked, and he still placed second.
See, I go both ways on that. That's why I like that we have so many competitions now, because we have certain competitions that have judging one way on either if your station's not clean or something's not putting away. And then we have other competitions that obviously are a lot more strict. WFCTs being one of them, is they are very strict with their rules and invitations. I don't feel bad, though, at those competitions for the people that do that, because that means you didn't read the packet.
That's true.
You compare it to a job, like you're going to a customer's house. Like, would you show up late to a customer's house? Like, I'm hoping that they bring back, like, the first WFCT I went to, if you were late to the mandatory meeting, they locked the doors.
Oh yeah, I heard.
You didn't compete, and which I thought it was kind of harsh. I think they should bring that back, but bring it back to the fact that if you're late, you lose 10 points. Which, sure, you get to compete still, but you just knocked yourself out of the finals. Because, like, say you tell a customer, I'm going to be there 8 a.m. sharp, and then you're there at 8:30. Your customer is going to be furious. So it's kind of bringing in the other side of being an installer, showing up to your customer's job on time, making sure that your area is prepped and clean. Like, and just for me, it's as long as you read that competitor's packet, you shouldn't have to worry about the small little 1 and 2 point things that you get docked for. Like, those are the easiest points. I have the same preparation every single year now when I compete at WSCT. When they say go, I lift up the skirt of the table. Majority of my tools, or what I know I'm not using, is already underneath the table, and including my tint box. I drape out my sheet, or my bed sheet, and I have it in a way to where all I have to do when I'm done is shove all of my stuff underneath the table, drop the cloth, and hold my done sign up. To where, because that last 30 seconds can be crucial if you're trying to do some last minute touch-ups, wipe things down, and now you have to worry about shoving all your stuff underneath your table. That's where people unfortunately don't get that done. They leave their box out, they get docked a point, and that 1 point's the difference of you getting into the finals. Or it could be the difference of you winning the finals, to where you know what the rules are, you know what they expect. Instead of complaining about it, prepare more and get ready for it, and just do the same thing over and over again. Like, prep your station, actually, it's even before the competition starts. They allow you to set your things out, to where as soon as they tell me I can set my things out, I'm like, cool. I'm setting my station in a way to where all I have to do is grab a sheet, pull it over, done. And then I raise my done sign up. So I buy myself as much time as I possibly can to focus on my install. And it's like, if you're having a problem with leaving stuff out, you should work on making sure you get that done to begin with, and just spend the 30 seconds to begin the competition to where it's done, to where you're not stressing at the end. So is what it is.
That's what and it's funny that you mentioned that, because at XDC, whenever I had that, when Pete first competed in the first one, that's exactly what he did. He left his stuff behind, and he was like, man, I might not make it to the finals. I laid a pretty good install. And then he did make it in the finals. In the finals, there were four installers. And we had this conversation right before. I told him, I was like, well, on the bright side, you made it into the finals, and you got docked for something that's very easy to avoid.
Yep.
And then he walked away from the thing, left his stuff out again. I'm like, dude, come on, man. But anyways, apparently the scoring wasn't too completely off. And I told him, I was like, look, you probably could have gotten first. Who's to say? I don't know. But you probably could have gotten first. But what we do know is, like, that what probably got you second are things that didn't have to do with the install itself. It was just like your little due diligence things. And so, in practice, that has to be in practice now. There was I don't know if you're into UFC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever remember the fight between Frank Mir and Brock Lesnar. It was the second one. Well, it was the first one. Brock got tapped out because I guess he was on top of him in some type of way, and then he stood up and he was walking away, and Frank Mir got I think a leg lock on him, and Brock ended up tapping. And whenever Brock was talking about it, he's like, "Man, I don't." It's like it had to have been the way that I was drilling or rehearsing, because I was doing what I've always done, but it was one of those little details that in rehearsal you didn't think about, so that in the fight itself it cost him the actual fight. And I think that's what it was with Pete, because we never really rehearsed on, hey, how do you put things up and walk away from it? So
what we used to do, like this year for WFCT at least, like I'm bringing my entire shop up there because it's in Reno. It's in my state. Like it's a short flight. So I gave everybody at the shop the option. We usually do quarterly team building projects, or we'll go to like Top Golf, or we'll go to an escape room. I was like, hey guys, let's avoid, you guys want to not do anything on any quarter. And what we'll do is we'll shut the shop down and we'll all go up as an entire team and we'll all go compete. And they're like, yeah, but before that, we would only take 2 extra guys with us. So it'd be 2 veterans and then 2 new guys. And we held our own competition here. And I modeled the competition off their rules and like made sure I printed out a pack and everything. I was like, make sure you read everything. Don't leave a blade out. Don't leave, like, if you're leaving this out, like you leave a blade out, you're disqualified. Like I will DQ you if I see a blade. To put that pressure on them to get them ready for that. Cause that's, to me, those are the things that, you have to practice it. Like you are going to default to what you've practiced, like preparation is everything. I mean, McGregor and Jose Aldo, like McGregor before the fight, he was literally mapping out exactly what he was going to do because he knew what Aldo would react to. And it happened exactly how he planned it out. He reacted to it, knocked him out. So it's all in the preparation.
A lot of it has to do in the preparation, but yeah, I mean, one of the other exciting things here in regards to the next Tinter Battles event in January is the film trainers portion of it, and much bigger than it was in previous years. The film trainers will be just as big as the actual competitions themselves, which to me, I felt like that is where the competitions in them, like they're fun and you do learn from them. They get a lot of noise online and a lot of viewership, but the film trainings part of it to me is really like the potential life-changing type of segments because, at this, well, we've done it in previous Tinter Battles, but especially this next one upcoming, it's one of those rare opportunities where anybody, whether they're intro, beginner, or they have experience, that they want to get advanced training, like they'll be able to access the battle floor, or the battle arena, where there's going to be selected designated film trainers there to pretty much assist with whatever the attendee is looking for. So whether it's advanced shrinking or intro shrinking, or it's flat glass or automotive, bottom loading, 2-staging, everything is pretty much going to be available there. And we have yet to really announce any film trainer so far, but since we have the world champion here with us today, I am proud to announce our first official inductee to the film trainers roster for 2026 is Ricky Miller.
No, I appreciate it. Like I mean, now where I've gotten to in my career, I definitely look at it now is I want to try to give back to this industry as much as I can. I mean, and then selfishly, obviously it's for my business too. Like I think we all can agree the biggest glaring hole that majority of us have is installers. Like is just you get all of a sudden the busy season comes and it's like everyone says the same thing. If I had 1 or 2 more guys, or if I had this, like I could have got so much more done. And we finally kind of got to that point where thankfully we have all this extra space now. Cause like where I'm sitting right now is where we now record our podcast. And then the other side of me is now where we're going to start doing our academy, which I can actually officially say that the first class is going to be either the last week of June. I'm hammering out the couple of participants. We kind of handpicked the first couple people or the first 6 people that were going to be in this class.
Nice.
So I've been in touch with them and I'm locking down the dates. And then after that, we're going to try to do a class every month and we'll just see kind of what the demand is to where we have, I think, a waiting list that we've already kind of put out. I think it has like 15 or 20 people that have reached out that want to come learn. And it's like, I want to try to grow the labor force as much as I possibly can. Then I get to selfishly use them for my company and for my purposes, but also in like the grand scheme is get to a point where like I do know a good amount of people in our industry through all the different states to where it's like, hey, if this person shines, like where I'm going to tap into my network of people and let them know like, hey, if I come across someone who's in your area, are you looking for people to where then I can tell them, hey, go talk to this guy over here. He's looking for someone. They know they've either come through our academy and they've already, depending on if they've done basic training or if they've done more advanced training, then I can give that owner the kind of the rundown of like where they're at, what they're doing, what they're capable of, because I would assume most people would agree in this trade, you can teach someone the techniques, you can go over how to do something, but it's all repetition.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's going to be for us. We're going to run a 3-day academy, and like the first day is going to be going over, or the first couple hours of the first day, it's going to be go over technique of this is how I prep a window, and I'm going to teach it the way I do it. And that doesn't mean that's the only way to do it, but that's where I have found success. So I'm going to say, do it like this. This is where I know this is successful. And then after you get the grasp and concept of it and say you found your success with that, by all means, spread your wings and go and start like taking as much knowledge as you possibly can for as many installers as you can, because everybody has a different way of installing. But we're going to go through those tips and tricks to begin with of how this is how I prep. This is how I cut. This is how I cut out my corners, like map out like visuals to show like, this is how I'm going to gauge my cut on every corner when I'm cutting out my corners. And then from there, it's hit the ground running of going through each one of our stations and going from commercial windows to residential to single panels to sunburst. And then we even have French panes on the last end to where this is how I do French panes. And then I want every installer that comes through our academy, they're each going to get a 5-foot roll. It's either 5 foot or 6 foot. I got to figure which way my windows cut up the best in here. But you're going to get a full roll of film to start the class. And I mean, by all means, if you only install half of it, and you get to take your film with you, but I'm going to highly encourage you to make sure that you have done enough reps to blow through 600 square feet of film, because that's going to help you get to that next level of comfortability to where then when you go home, you are at least comfortable installing on most typical standard windows. And then when it comes to harder windows, you will attempt it and then you become a problem solver. All right, what went wrong? All right, I have a bunch of contamination. All right, did I over soak my window? Did I not clean my edges good enough? Did I not prep behind? Like, should I, like, even with certain windows, it's wet your pattern, don't wet the window. We don't want any water on the edges to leak into the window. We want to stick it straight in. So it's, you know,
that's one of it's interesting that you mention it that way too, man, because like I have a similar belief in that you could take because I've told this to some of my own guys that I'll provide them a box of film, like you said, and I'll tell them on the other side of this film, like when you use it, on the other side is going to be a much better you. What's stopping or what determines when you get there is how many reps you're putting in there. We used to have a whiteboard back there before XDC, and I had everybody's names written, and every time that they did a repetition, they would tally. So after a week, you saw who was tallying each other up. You get what I mean? So it kind of created almost like an in-house competitions, because me coming from a music world, I know the importance of repetitions. Like there's no really way around it. And you know, I was actually going to compete at XDC for flat glass because I have the glass stands from Tinter Battles, and I said, well, dude, if I have them here at the shop, there's zero excuse why I'm not taking advantage of them. And I gave myself, I'm going to do 100 reps before I get to XDC. And then they called me and say, hey, would you like to MC? I'm like, all right, I'll do that instead. So I didn't get to compete, but I told it to my guys too, dude. When I get in my competitive state, I'm a savage, but it's like my role is different now with these competitions. But anyways, man, I just wanted to so you're going to be one of the trainers at Film Trainers for Tinter Battles in 2026. You're also, like you mentioned, the owner of the Born to Tint Academy. That's what it's called?
Correct.
Born to Tint Academy. Is it going to have its own social media, or is it going to run off of Green Valley?
As of right now, it's riding off Green Valley. To say that it might change in the future, there's a possibility. I mean, we're going to grow it from, as of right now, obviously, we're going to kind of hit the ground running with the first class. First class is technically, it is a free class. It's like I said, I handpicked certain guys that I kind of wanted to work with. I know where they are at in tinting. Like I know where their career's at. They're heavy auto installers, like some of the best auto installers in the industry. So it's like, I know they know the concept of film, so it'll ease me into training, because that by itself, training is a whole other skill. Like I can tint my ass off, but now do I have the capability to pass that knowledge along? Like I have to remember even when I'm training like my new guys here, it's like, I have to remember like all the small little nuanced things that I'm doing. I can't just be like, all right, so put it from here and cut down to there. Like there are so many more little things that I'm doing that I have to remember, like, all right, they're from ground zero. I got to teach them the basics. Like even with a lot of my guys, even if it comes to auto or flat, I tell them to begin with, if you guys see me installing, if I'm installing now, it's because I'm trying to either, like the auto department maybe fell behind a little bit, or we want to take an extra car in, so I'll throw my pouch on, help them get caught up. Or if I'm going on a flat glass job, it's just a big enough job to where, we can get some content of installation, and then also they need an extra set of hands, they need an extra tinter. I'll tell them, like, when I'm training you, like do what I say. Like I'm like, do what I say in the aspect, like I'm telling you to do it this way for a reason. I'm trying to build your muscle memory in the sense that you will get past doing this simple task like this in due time. You got to give it time, repetition for it to take over and for it to for that technique to click. And as soon as it clicks, then you can throw out some of the gray area in between, because I'll teach them a certain way and then they'll watch me install. I know what's running through their head. Dude, you just skipped like half the stuff you just told us to do. And it's like, yeah, I did, because I've been doing it for 20 years and I know I've gotten myself to that point to be more efficient. I know which simple little steps I can cut out to save myself time so I can get more windows done, because that's how I made money. It was square footage. I gotta get the work done fast, but it still has to come out high quality. So where it's like, this is intro level training that I'm teaching you. So do as I say, don't do as I do. Because if you see me installing, you're going to see me skip half the things I just told you, but that's because that's where I'm at in my career at the moment, to where it's like, you got to get that passed along to them.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences whenever I'm training my guys, and sometimes I'll tell them, I was like, rookies take shortcuts, professionals make exceptions. There's a difference, because like when like you said, when you're following the steps, you're doing it for the repetition, and also for the habit. Because if you practice taking the shortcut before you master the skill set, then you just crutch yourself whenever you run into a situation where your go-to style is not working here. And that's where, like, prep for me is one of the biggest things when you're prepping a window. And dude, I can get as meticulous as anybody else would get when it comes to prepping a window. Now, do I do that every single time? No. If I'm encountering a particularly dusty window that had previous tint and had glue, it's probably going to get all of my tricks on that glass. But
yes,
if it's let's say we're talking architectural, if it's a new build home, the glass isn't really dusty, like I'm not going to go to the full extent as if I was in a construction site and it had all that. But at the same time, as a professional, you can make those calls in these types of jobs. But as a beginner, when you're still figuring everything out, like, you have to be by the book. And then once you master it, then you make exceptions. Then you take your shortcuts or come up with a different way to do it, because you understand at least the principle of, when it comes to prep, the principle of why you got to clean the windows, because to avoid contaminants on the film. Like, that's the principle of everything that we do. How you get there, well, that's the magic of the creativity of it. Whether, whatever it is that you want to do, there's a ton of ways of getting it, but the whole purpose of getting it clean, and the only way to get it clean, is to really have a clean surface to work with. So,
no, I couldn't agree more. That's spot on. It's you need the repetitions. Even that's where, like, again, like that's where I'm extremely fortunate that I grew up in a tin shop. Like, I was the prepper for my dad for years before he let me start tinting. So I got to master prepping. So now it's like, I'm going to train somebody, and we're going to start with prepping. I'm going to explain to them, like, your install is going to be only as good as how you prep.
That's your foundation.
That's everything. I think that's why me and Josh have found the success in our careers, is that we had the years to really make that foundation as solid as rock, just like a concrete foundation of prepping. And then we started installing, and then we got fed little by little. But the biggest trick now for us is, like, how do we take that years-long process and then boil it down? Yeah, condense it down to, like, at least a 3-day, because that's my biggest fear is of starting this academy, is bringing people in, having people pay for a product. Am I going to be able to provide the value? That's the thing that scares me the most, is, am I going to be successful with providing the value that they're paying for? So that's the only thing that kind of lurches behind me right now, that, like, it's like, it's a good feeling in a way, because it's like, all right, I'm getting into a new ground and testing my abilities even more. And then even beyond that, it's helping me get better as an installer too, because now, even with training, I'm starting to kind of see little things here and there with training people, that's like, I've never looked at it through that lens before. So it's improved my installations even that much more too.
Yeah, man, like the true test of knowledge, and I do this with my team. If the true test of knowledge, if once you get the knowledge, is can you teach it? Because sometimes, like whenever we're running through certain things, like we're looking at the schedule, so we're having our team meeting. There's a particular car, or even when it comes to flat glass, there's a particular glass that we need to go over some installation processes. I'll relay the information. As an installer that is ran into this myself, I'll relay the information, and then once I finish with my message, and I'll say, "Did you guys understand?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, now teach it back to me." And that's whenever they start to think. And for whatever reason, whenever you test yourself to be able to teach it, you find all the gaps and holes. Like, damn, I guess I didn't really understand it. But now you know where you're lacking it, and so it's a helpful strategy.
Yeah, no, that reminds me. I forget which one of Jocko's books, but he talks about that in one of his books. I think it might
Extreme Ownership, Dichotomy of Leadership.
No, I think it's Leadership Strategy and Tactics, which like that's, I mean, he might bring it up in all three of the books, is that same thing and I mean, I find myself again, I'm reading his Leadership Strategy and Tactics book again. Like I've listened to it, I think 2 or 3 times, and now I'm actually reading it because I've now forcing myself to read just because I feel like I am retaining the information better. And it's like my own little peace and quiet in the morning, wake up, try to take 20 minutes to read. I got through Atomic Habits, and then obviously I did not keep the habit because I let it fall to the wayside. Life got busy, and then unfortunately I made excuses. And now it's like I'm getting back into the swing of that, to where it's like I'm back to reading it. And like even reading that book, like I'm like into page 50 right now. And as I'm reading it, like I'm already dealing with stuff within the shop. I'm like, well, I guess there's a good reason I chose to pick this up, because it's like all of a sudden I'm having a flashback from the previous day, like how I handled the situation. It's like, damn, I don't think I handled that situation correctly. So it's like, all right, I got to go pull that person aside and have another conversation and let them know, like, hey, I'm trying to grow at this. I'm trying to be the best leader as I possibly can. And I'm trying to steer the ship. And by all means, I do not know everything. And as long as I'm willing to admit that and say, like, dude, we're on the same journey together. Like if I step out of line, if there's something I might do, my door's open, come to me, because, no one's perfect. I try to do as best as I can, but as long as you're always constantly working on yourself, if it's from the installer aspect or if it's from a leadership aspect, I think that's the biggest thing that matters. Is like, as long as you know that this is a forever journey, this is going to go on forever, you need to increase or just get better by just 1% every day. I mean, the same thing when it comes to running, like for ultra running. That's why I think I gravitated to ultra running so hard, was like, I'm able to get these races done. I'm able to finish them at least. I now watch the guys that are winning these races, and it's like, holy shit, there's so many different levels of this thing. And every time I get a race done, how much I learned from one of those races is invaluable. You can't put value on it. It's the same thing when it comes to competitions. I encourage everyone to go to competitions. Get out of your comfort zone, go compete.
Very well said. The champion of the world, Ricky Miller, flat glass, architectural. All of them are flat glass, right?
Yeah.
All of your world championships.
Yeah, they're flat glass. I'm still hunting down.
You're saying that so disappointed though.
I consider myself more of an auto installer than I do flat glass. I mean, it's not disappointing. Yes, I'm very excited that I've won those competitions, but like the auto one haunts me dearly. It haunts me. So
yeah, well, maybe one of these days I'll be rooting for you.
Yeah,
I'll be rooting for you to get that auto at some point. But
I appreciate it, dude, and thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
No, well, thanks for coming on the show, man. I'm a fan of, like, I'm not only a fan of your work, but also seeing you as a competitor, because you're a very competitive person, but you're also really, really good. And so I really do appreciate too, man, like being a leader in like a leader voice and a figure in our industry, especially the way that you've been interacting with a lot of these comments. To me, it's like, to a world that doesn't know that we exist, we set the tone. And so every time that there's an interaction, it's an opportunity to have an impression on somebody of someone from our industry. Because we haven't always had the best reputation, like as window tinners, unfortunately. But I feel that with the more that people like you and others that are exposed and shown as like, no, these are the the top of the heap, you know, per se, of our industry. It's not the drug addicts that they think that they are, the meth heads or whatever name that they want to call it. It's different. It's a lot more than that, man. Our industry is full of incredible people.
Yeah, and I also want to say thank you. Thank you for exposing and opening the lens of our industry to now I can say millions of people. I mean, and around the world, because with how you produce your content and your vision of just trying to get it out there and expand it, if you weren't doing this, we wouldn't have. I mean, you can technically contribute between my videos and I think it's Marcus's video of competing, and there was a Squeegee one too. I'm pretty sure you're over 100+ million views.
Well, there was one of us. So all together with Tinter battles that we did last year was somewhere sitting around 300 million, which is
Jesus Christ.
That one Squeegee video alone did about 200 and something million, which was crazy. But you know, I don't want to be like the overselling promoter, but man, we have been working at this, like me and a few others, but we've been working at this production of content, and it's a lot more than it really seems like, man. There's a lot of layers that get built into what, because you don't know with these algorithms a lot of times, and even with people, it's like you work on a psychological aspect of like what would gets our craft, what would speak to someone who doesn't understand what we do. How can you break this down and how can you produce it in the way that they're captivated by it? And so I would say that I'm most excited about this next coming Tinter battle simply because of the production side of things, that I feel like we finally got it nailed down to a point where the videos that we're seeing now with the traction that we're seeing in the viewership, that's the start of it. Now we're going into this next Tinter battles, like having that a lot more locked in and a lot more calibrated and calculated. So, and everything that is getting designed, it's, you know, in terms of the show itself and how everything is going to look, it's built for that atmosphere that Tinter battles is known for, but on steroids for 2026. So
I look forward to it, man.
Yeah. Well, cool. I appreciate you joining in here. Everybody, this has been the Tinter Battles live stream podcast here with the world champion, Ricky Miller. Follow him at
Green Valley window tinting on all, I think, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X. And then my personal page is at Ricky Miller.
Ricky Miller. All right, everybody, you can follow Tinter Battles at Tinter Battles online. Tickets are available for the next Tinter Battles. They're available on tintertainment.com. This has been Carlos, the Texas Squeegee, world champion Ricky Miller, signing out here on the Tinter Battles live stream. We'll see you guys probably next week until we get another guest. And same place, same time. Squeegee that. Go ahead and end it.
This January, it all comes full circle. Houston, Texas. Birthplace of the Tinter Battles movement returns to host the ultimate showdown in window film history, H-Town Throwdown. 2 shows, 1 program, 2 days, 1 event. Tinter Battles and the Film Trainers event unite for the first time ever. The Film Trainers event features the industry's top film trainers under one roof for innovative auto tint, PPF, and flat glass hands-on training. Intro or advanced, you decide. The battles begin. The Teams Automotive World Championships, Teams Flat Glass Battles World Championships, and the return of the legendary Heat Shrink Battles. This isn't just another event. This is the relaunch. This is the future. This is Tintertainment. Tinter Battles, H-Town Throwdown, January 2026, Houston, Texas. Be there or get left behind.